Hello everyone, Creative Fun here, back again with another video, and we are once again in X4 Foundation, and we're continuing our tutorial series where we are moving forward with our plans basically. So last episode we finished off the Player HQ quest. We gained full control of the station. We rescued Bozo Ta, the scientist, who now has opened up a few more options for us as a player to get more involved in the universe. And in addition to that, we're gonna have a look at the map here. We're still in Grand Exchange, and we sold our destroyer and earned us quite a lot of cash. We now have well over 13 million in cash. And in the background, right before this episode, I have done a few more things. I've added another reputation farming ship that I'm actually calling Rep Farmer 2 here. It's the same type of Elite Vanguard, very cheap ship to buy. And I found another power plant here in the southern part of Hatikva's Choice, where I set it up to buy some energy cells and then go around here in Argon Prime and sell it. For X4 Foundation to be as fun as it can be, I believe that you kind of have to have your own idea of what you want your character and your empire or corporation or faction to achieve. So for this run, my goal is to create an anti-Xenon task force and secure the gate in Hatikva's Choice. So the gate is right here, and that's the Xenon gate. We saw it previously in a previous episode when we talked about reputation farming. We were out here killing Xenons, and they keep streaming on here. Now this defense platform will eventually fall to the Xenons. You can see here there's quite a lot of Xenon corpses, if you will, wrecks here that this space station has destroyed. And there's usually an Argon fleet here, but eventually the Xenon is going to push through here, and they're going to start moving into Hatikva, which is not as well defended as the Argon factions. And if the Xenon is able to push into Silent Witness and or Argon Prime, it can also cause issues if, it's not impossible that Argon might lose a wharf or something like that, but more importantly we might lose some important stations here that produces goods that these wharf and shipyards need to produce ships, and that can have a cascading effect where supplies and resources are not reaching the shipyards and wharf, and the factions kind of is unable to replenish their forces. It's just one simple scenario, but we have created a corporation or a faction called CF Anti-Xenon Task Force, and this is Chris Fox's Anti-Xenon Task Force. So that's our main goal, and once that goal is achieved, I'm going to consider this run completed. Of course, generally securing the gate in Hatikva's Choice is one thing that most players usually do, unless they want the Xenon to thrive a bit and move in, or if they have a specific political reason that they want the Argon and Hatikva to be weakened. So it's also a good thing to learn how to do, because most players will usually have to deal with Hatikva's Choice sooner or later when they do an X4 run. So how are we going to accomplish that goal? We have one fairly decent combat ship, and we're going to upgrade this to be even more efficient very soon with some Argon weapons. I've also changed out the engines and giving it a little bit of upgrade with the Paranid travel engines to make it a little bit faster. But the frigates are not super fast, so we're going to find a better combat ship to make our own primary combat ship a little bit later. But this will suffice for now. The Big Arrow, as we call it. We also have a smaller fighter called the Strong Arrow, which was our previous ship. It's hovering about here, and it's still in our little fleet here, and it's going to defend us if something attacks us. So we're going to keep this configuration for a while. While I talk a bit here, I am going to actually use Captain Kelm here for a different purpose. I'm going to send him off to the Argon Federation, because to achieve our goals, we're going to have to create some sort of passive income that allows us to not just earn money temporarily, but continuously keeps pushing in money in our wallet. We could conceivably organize or buy a smaller fleet right now with maybe some frigates and fighters, maybe some gunships, and we could potentially move that fleet into Hatikva's choice and start fighting the Xenon. If we do that right now, we're going to eventually lose those ships, and since we don't have any current passive income, there's a high chance that we might not be able to afford losing any ships or be able to repurchase those ships if we lose them. So we need to take care of our finances first and start building an economy that helps us with our goal of securing or creating an anti-Xenon task force to secure Hatikva's choice. So I'm gonna actually sit in one of these shares. I actually like this feature where you can just sit in one of these shares. If you have more crew in a frigate, they will come in and sit here as well. We're gonna sit down in this navigation console here, and that's gonna actually open the map for us. And we're gonna send Calm here, Captain Calm. So we're gonna tell him to proceed with current orders. Every time you sit down or move around in the ship, very often when you move around the ship, this little icon comes up. So it's important to remember to tell him that it's okay, whatever I tell you, you can carry on that. You don't need to wait for me. So he has an all clear to carry out his orders, and his orders are actually going to be to fly here to Argon Wharf. So I don't want him to dock immediately because I actually like the background music, and when you dock with the station, the background music turns off. So until I'm ready for that to happen, we're just going to send him over there. So he's going to actually fly now. And if we switch the menu here and go to the outside view here, you're going to see, Captain Calm. He's taking command of his ship. He's going to fly us there. So he is right now a glorified personal chauffeur for us, but in a pretty fancy ships. These Gorgon ships are actually quite nice looking. The Paranid has a kind of flair to the ships, like gold gold edges on this ship here. And while he's doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit. So there's a couple of ways to start generating passive income, and we're going to look at, as the title of this video have probably already clued you in on, we're going to build a space station. Now we have some blueprints. We have some blueprints for energy cells and some docks and stuff like that, but we don't have all the blueprints I want to effectively build a station. So one of the first things we're going to do here is actually to buy the blueprints I want, and then we have to find a place to plonk down our station. Now an energy cell production station is not going to make you super rich. However, since we already have the blueprints for energy cells, and almost everything else, I believe everything else you produce with other components for factories in your stations require energy cells. Having an energy cell station where you have control over your own energy cells is also a positive. So there are, for me usually, there are two places I like to place my first station, one of two places, and it depends a little bit on the run I'm doing and what kind of politics I want to play out in the law when I build up my own empire, or depending on what type of business or corporations I want to build. So the best starter positions, in my opinion, for an energy cell station or solar power plant, as they're called, is either in the Reach, which is just east of Argon Prime, or in Bright Promise, which is a part of Teladi faction. If you right-click on sector and show encyclopedia entry, you can check out what type of resources and stuff that's being produced, but more importantly for our mission right now, it tells us the amount of percentage of sunlight. So we are getting starlight equivalent of 204% of sunlight, which is pretty good. It gives us a good boost, and we can produce a lot of energy cells with not that many solar panels. The Reach, however, gives us a boost. The starlight of the Reach is 367% of sunlight, which is obviously a lot more than 200%. However, the Reach is a little bit further away from the highway here, and it's tucked very tight into the Argon faction, so you're less likely to get traders from, for example, the Holy Order of Pontifex, and it's kind of far away for traders of the Paranid Empire as well. So it's not always perhaps the best place to place it because it's a little bit further away. It's however very safe. Usually Xenons will never break this further in even if Argon Prime starts losing some sectors to either Holy Order of Pontifex or the Xenon, depending on how their war is going. The reach is usually undisturbed. Bright Promise, commercially, you can place it right next to the highway here, and you will have a lot of through output, makes it easy for you to get to the station. Also makes it easy for traders to get to the station. Bright Promise, we cannot see it right now, but since I have played this game quite a lot, I know that there's actually 2 more gates here. We have one east gate and one west gate, so there's actually quite a lot of traffic going through here. So for trading, Bright Promise is a very good place. For just raw solar power output, the reach is probably better. In this playthrough, since I want to operate very close to Argon Prime and Hatikva's choice, it makes more sense for me to focus on building out my organization here in Argon territory. So I have decided to place my solar power plant here in the reach. We'll produce a lot more energy cells here, which is quite good. And if you want to expand on some of the other type of resource productions that are available, having a lot of solar power plant is very good. We have arrived at the wharf, and this is also the faction headquarters for the Argon Federation. So the way I can tell that is because it has this little dude here with the crown, that icon there. That means that the faction representative, or this is the faction headquarters. So the reason we're here is because we want to buy blueprints, and we also want to level up or get a promotion in terms of our reputation. And we're going to talk to Leia here, and we're going to receive rank. So if you don't want to listen to a dialogue, there's some unskippable dialogue, but most dialogue you can just press a space bar and it will just cycle through it. So we're now a hero, not a hero, but we are at least a friend of the Federation. That means that we can now have full access to some really good technology and ships. So if I right click on buy ship Argon Warfare, go to M-Size, we now have access to the Argon style frigate, which is one of my favorite frigates actually. And we also have access to a gunboat. A gunboat is a combat ship with 4 turrets, and this one has also a missile launcher, which can be very useful, as well as 2 medium-sized fixed mounts. The frigate, which is usually a little bit more expensive and slower, has somewhere between 2 to 4 turrets and 2 to 4 medium guns, as well as a docking bay where you can store drones or small fighters. So these are going to be very important once we start building up a little bit of anti-Xenon ship fleet. We also have access to some of the more advanced fighters. They have Eclipse Vanguard here, and we have the Quasar Vanguard. Both of these are pretty solid fighters, so we're going to have a look at those as well when we start building out our fleet. But for now, we actually want to upgrade our big arrow here with some better weapons, or some more suitable weapons. And previously when we checked this out, most of this have been blacked out because we don't have the military ship license. All these with a star on is what requires a specific license. Same with weapons. So we're actually going to equip this a little bit better. I have changed a little bit of the equipment here from when we got it. I have equipped the Pulse Mark II pulse lasers. Even though we now have access to some more advanced weapons, I actually really like the Mark II pulse lasers. They have decent range, decent projectile speed, and decent damage. So they're actually my preferred weapon for a ship that's not as maneuverable or has a specific focus. But for the missile launcher here, I actually want a tracking launcher. So we're going to grab that. And we are going to go with the, let's see, Light Smart Missile is one of the Swarm Missile is also good. We could go for either one of those. Maybe we'll go with the Swarm Missile for now, but Smart Missile also really good. I believe Smart Missile is the best tracker, but has the least powerful warhead. The Light Heat Seeker can easily be fooled by chaff or flare, as well as the Guided Missile. These two are a bit easier to fool, but have more powerful warhead. You can always right click and choose Encyclopedia, and you can get all the information of the weapon as well as what components it's made of from there. We have a couple of repair drones. We could add a couple of defense drones as well to this ship. Might come in handy. We are gonna put on a few crew members as well. Can have 4 crew members. Crew members help with repair. So if your ship is damaged, the more crew members you have, they will actually help repairing the ship. And the repair drones work as a modifier of that as well. So with crew and repair drones, that means if you accumulate some damage, it will repair over time. And that can be especially useful if, for example, your engines are damaged. But now we have the main reason why I wanted to upgrade this ship at Argon Wharf, and those are the flak turrets. So the flak turrets are probably the best medium turrets you can put on a frigate. So those turrets is what we want, and we are going to go here, and we want the turrets to want the forward turrets to well, let's take all turrets can attack the current enemy. That means that they will focus fire whatever the ship is also targeting, and that's pretty useful because the Gorgon is not as maneuverable as a corvette or gunboat, or a fighter for that matter. So the turrets will really help with that DPS of focus firing an enemy. And we are going to just tell them to use the missile that we equip with here. So that's it. So I'm happy with that upgrade. We're going to add to shopping list, confirm order. And now we're going to check out some blueprints for our station here. When you build a station, you need the blueprints for that station. You need to own them, or there are ways to acquire blueprints that involve, well, basically IP theft, stealing. You can actually hack or use a specific type of equipment and research to acquire blueprints in different ways. There are plenty of tutorials online that goes through this, so I don't think we'll be touching on that in this playthrough. But if it is something you're interested in learning more about, please write in the comments, and I might add that in an upcoming video. So there's a different type. There are 3 categories of modules here. We have basically station modules, everything you can build on a station. We have ships, and we have equipment. So equipment can sometimes be attached to station modules, and very often also be attached same equipment for ships. For example, shields and turrets. There are certain station modules that allows you to equip that, as well as ships. Ships blueprints is only useful if you intend to build a shipyard or a wharf, and those fall under the build modules here. And this is really late game, the beginning of late game stuff, when you can basically print your own ships. And as you can see, it's quite expensive just to get the blueprints of a fabrication bay. Is very, very expensive, so it's not something we're going to easily be able to do quickly, and that's by design. So this is considered a very late game thing to build your own shipyards. However, when it comes to dock modules, we own this very simple 1 medium 6S dock area, but I don't really like this one, mainly because it only has 1 medium ship. When you build a station, it's going to have a lot of traffic where you're selling stuff. You're going to really want to be able to have capacity to deal with as many ships as possible, otherwise they will build a queue, and it's just going to slow down the amount of money you can earn. So when you're building your first whatever production station, do never ever build these basic docks. They're good for stations where you absolutely don't need a lot of traffic, like a defense platform, for example. But for a trade station, like an energy cell production station, you need at least these 3M 6S basic or luxury standard dock area. So these doesn't do very much as far as I know. They're just aesthetics. So we're going to go with the basic one because it's actually, I don't know if it works. We could do luxury just to make it look nice and fancy. Let's do that. We have the money. They don't change anything. That's why the price is not a very big difference either. It's only aesthetics. But let's be a bit fancy. Let's do the luxury dock area. Actually, they look really nice, so it's kind of fun to do that one. We have already a 3 dock pair, I believe, but not the Argon one. I have to look at that. I believe we have a dock pair. If we don't, we're going to have to get one. But I'm going to check my blueprints. I believe we have a 3 dock T pair, but I don't think it's an Argon one. Anyway, we're going to need a dock pair as well. If we don't have one, we're going to buy the Argon dock short pair here. We might actually pick that up regardless because I think this is a very good one. And I'll explain it when we start building the station. So actually I want that one for my station. So even if we have a 3 dock pair, I think I'll go with this one anyway because it's cheaper to build. And for more stations moving forward, I'm also going to use this short pair quite a lot. So that's docking modules we want. We also want storage modules. Now we own the small container storage. That's really not enough. I usually ship out and buy the medium storage container, but I'm actually not going to do this run. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. There's really no reason for you not to get the large storage containers. They're not very expensive compared to many other production modules and stuff like that. So just get the large container, large liquid, large solid storage. Especially if you're producing a lot of stuff, the large container storage, it just makes more sense. It's easier to build a station when you don't have to have many different storage containers. So we're going to go with that one. And total, we're going to spend 3 million credits just on the blueprints. So we are going to confirm that. And we're going to head to our ship. I actually like the let's say the immersion of walking around in stations, taking elevators, and even moving between ships and stuff like that. But Egosoft, the developers of X4 Foundation, they acknowledge that eventually it can be quite boring to run around. It's, you know, this hangar bay, this medium ship, it's actually it takes quite a while just to get to the ship. So if you want to really quickly go to the ship, you can actually go to this dock interaction and just select go to ship, pick the ship you want to go to, and you're automatically teleported to any ship that is docked with the same station that you are on. You will immediately be able to teleport to that ship. So here we are in the Reach, and let's see if we can find a good place. So we'll just park here close to the gate for now. So we are going to want a position which is fairly close to the gate here, and we actually want to angle our station so that if ships comes out, they can kind of very easily just head straight to our station. So somewhere in the kind of line of sight of the station's exit, or not station, gate exit, we want to be. So this could potentially be a good spot. So when you have decided where you want to put your station, you need to access the manage plot. Now, if you build in an unclaimed sector, we have one here, you do not need to pay any faction any money to build a station. However, if you build a station in a sector owned by a faction, you're going to have to pay a license. So let's have a look at see how that works. So I click manage plot here. So first you can tell the game how big you want your plot to be. This will affect the price of the, or rather the license of your plot, the fee for that. So I've chosen 8x8x8 here. I'm going to create a new plot. I'm going to show you here. So once you click on a create new plot, this box will come up. The smaller box is actually your build area. And you can also see here the gate, how that is kind of angled. So we actually want our plot to be somewhat angled towards the gate. Well, that will make it quicker for ships to come in and come out. So somewhere around here, as you can see here, the price for building the plot changes the closer you are to a gate. We can also check and see here, let's say if we would build in Bright Promise, the closer we are to the highway, the pricier it gets. So with a bit of a smart placement here, you can get about the same effect but having to pay less. So if you look here, like if we go here, we're almost up to 2 million credits. We just move a little bit out of here, we're down to 600,000. And this basically doesn't affect anything. So I'm going to plonk that down. And after I plonk it down, I'm going to right click on it. And now I can rotate it. So I want one of the faces here of my factory plot to face the gate. You can also move the camera around, and you can see here the line here indicates in which axis you move it. So if you move it a little bit to the side here, you can actually move it up and down as well. That's not super useful right now. I'm going to move it back down here. But we want it to be, let's see here, right there we can still have a pretty good angle. It's not very far, it takes only a second or two for a ship coming out of warp or coming from the gate here and out of travel drive to reach our station. But we don't have to pay a huge amount of money for it. So let's buy a license. Now if you do not buy a license and you start building, and this can be done by mistake, it has happened to me where I start building my stations and suddenly I forgot to buy a license for some reason, and I'm suddenly at war with the station because they attack and my station shoots back, and it becomes a whole mess. So please do not forget to buy a license. Once that is done, we can click continue and we will end up with this feature, which is the kind of the plot builder or the station builder. So we're fairly well aligned with the gate there. And we have our build storage here. That's good. And now we can start building our station. So let's have a look at the blueprints we have. We have meat production. We're not interested in that. We have the energy cell production. We have a large storage container. We have the Argon dock 3 dock EP here. I thought it said that we could buy that, but we have it here anyway. Doesn't matter. Right now we have that. And we have the short dock pair. You can see the price difference here. The estimated price is what the goods that you need to buy to build it cost. So each model costs something. If you right click Encyclopedia, you can see here it costs a certain number of electronics, energy cells and hull parts. Go back here. And if we click on this one, obviously it costs a lot more of those parts. So that's also something you need to keep in mind, how much resources is required. And a luxury dock area, I believe that it actually costs a little bit more than a basic dock area, but that's the one with the 3 docks, 3 medium and 3 smalls. So we're going to definitely need these two. Now the order that you plonk down the modules is the order that they will be built in. And that matters if you're worried a little bit about efficiency. For example, if I decide to start building an energy cell production solar panel before a storage container, then we are going to waste production cycles, because the moment you build this, it'll start producing stuff. But if you don't have a container storage to put that in, it doesn't matter. So the first thing you want to do when you start building a production station is to get the storage settled first, especially the storage that your production modules need. So we're gonna put this like, let's see here, maybe we'll put it like this. It's nice. That's that. Now we need to add some solar panels. We could attach solar panels directly to our storage container, but to make this a little bit more expandable in the future, we're going to have a check-in with our other modules. We have 2 ones that are very good. We have the vertical connection structure and the cross connection. So we can put a cross connection here. Just click and drag and they will snap automatically. And then we're going to put our solar cells, or in this case our starlight cells, on either side of this one. So we go to production modules, we grab that one. And you can see here it's not angled in the way we want. These green balls represents connection points. So if we drag this, we can angle it, but as you see, you get like degrees here. If you hold down shift, it will snap. So this is a very quick way to get it 90 degrees where you want it, and then you can just drag it. You can click anywhere outside of this one to just click and drag it. You can also click on these axis arrows to drag it in any specific axis. And once you get it close enough, you can touch it. It will snap automatically. And I could of course take one out here now, but then I have to realign it again. So to save a little bit of time, you can actually right click on a module and take copy module, and it will save its rotation. And the station build can be a bit finicky here, so you might have to travel around with the camera to get a good snap. And if you don't get a good snap, you just place it fairly close to where you want it. Okay, we got a good snap there, but if you wouldn't get a good snap, you can place it fairly close to where you want it, and you can just move it with these arrows to get it right there. Now we have two energy cells, and we can check here with the build order. So first we're going to build the container, cross connection, and two energy cell productions. So the moment the first energy cell production comes online, we have a storage container that will start accepting energy cells. Now we want to build our docking modules. So we're going to go to dock modules here. The first dock model we want is the medium and small medium ship. Most of the ships coming and buying here is going to be medium ships initially, because we're not going to have a huge stockpile of energy cells. So getting the medium docking area up first is a good priority. And here it can also matter the way you angle these. Since the ship is going to come straight in like this, you want these docking bays to be like that basically. So I hope this will work out well. So now we're going to add our short dock. We could potentially add an E-dock here. I'm going to leave this in. Now the big L size or X dock piers, L and XL dock piers, can be a bit difficult to place, because you can see these red giant boxes here. I'm going to rotate this one around. So these are actually like interference area where you are not allowed to place anything, because this is the docking path of the ships. So we could potentially just do like this and have that. However, this one is quite expensive to build, and generally in my experience we're not going to have that many large ships buying and selling energy cells. So we're going to remove that for now, and we're actually going to do it like this. So we're going to use a small connection here like that, and then we're going to add a cross connection, and then we're going to finish off with this short connection pair like that. So that's how that's going to look. And if we want to add additional pairs, we can just extend this part here and here outwards, and we can add additional docking, and we can angle them. We can angle them for left and right, or just mimic one of these E pairs if we want. So that's going to give us a good expansion options in the future without costing us too much initial down payment for building our first energy cell station. I want to add a few more of these solar panels or energy cell production panels before we finish off. So I'm going to take one of these vertical connection structures. Now I could have been smart and bought the double connection. There's a connection structure that is twice this height, so I wouldn't have to use two of these. But for now that's fine. And then I'm going to take and right click on this one and do copy sequence. And what that does is copies the entire sequence that is attached to this. And then we're going to add this to there, so I don't have to redo too much. Control C, by the way, I just accidentally rotated this and I pressed Control C. So Control C works for undoing. You also have up here undo if you accidentally do something that you don't want to do, like let's say you rotate this somewhere you don't want it, you can just do undo here. And this one will reset the top view, so this will just move the camera back to a neutral position. For now, I think that's going to be pretty good, since this star has 367% of solar output. These 4 panels are going to produce a lot of energy cells for us, and since we have a large container storage here, it's going to take a while for that to fill up. If we want more container storage later on, it's very easy, just take one and add one here. We can just keep building this out as much as we want. Once that is done, we click Confirm Module Change. So, and this is very similar to what we did when we added the dock area to our player HQ. And then it tells us the amount of goods it needs. And we can check here, manage offers for needed resources. We scroll right down and it tells us it's going to need 5.2 million credits to build this. We're going to accept this estimate, and then we're going to hire a builder. Now let's see if we can find a builder, and luckily we have one right here at the edge of our satellite here. This is an Antigone construction vessel, and that's totally fine. We're going to right click on that, select. So now we have hired a builder as well. Once you have started building your station, there's a couple of things you can do. Number one, if you have your own traders, you can actually start looking for resources yourself and see if you can fill that up. So let's take this opportunity to buy a trader and see if we can have it help out and get us some resources. I believe it's the Vanguard. Let's see, the Vanguard has, the Mercury Vanguard has 8,200 storage, and the IDES has 7,400. So I believe the Mercury is the objectively better choice. We're going to pick a medium travel engine, a Mark II travel engine. We could go and spring for a Mark III, but that really is not, like, these are never going to be very fast regardless. We're going to give it a Mark II combat maneuvering, and help it. This is going to help it with docking. And we're going to grab Mark II shield, because we don't want to skip on shields. Losing a trader because you went cheap on shields is not great. When it comes to turrets, I usually don't equip my traders with any weapons. I don't want them to shoot or fight any pirates. If they attack, I want them actually to just obey the pirates and do whatever it takes for it not to be destroyed. Very rarely will the trader, I think in no circumstance will the trader carry enough stuff that is more valuable than itself. So we're not going to put any weapons on this trader. What we're going to do is give it a docking computer Mark II for faster docking. It doesn't need long range scanners Mark II. Mark I is sufficient. Basic scanner is sufficient. We're not going to put on weapons, but we are absolutely going to put on a trading software. And we are also going to add flares, always add flares, and a couple of laser turrets. Laser turrets can be good if it's chased by specifically an enemy called the Kahak, which spawns in areas where there's a lot of mining going on. I'm going to pick a captain. We're not needing any crew. If it gets damaged, we're just going to send it to a wharf and have it repaired there. And I'm actually going to save this configuration because I'm going to need more traders in the future, and I like to have full control of what I have. So this is my specific layout. You can always pick. There's a few here. You can see I have some other from previous runs. I have some other configurations, and these grayed out ones uses different mods and stuff like that. But the basic one, low, medium, and high, is also available. I generally like to make my own presets. So we're gonna save this one like that and save this one. So now every time I want to build a new trader, I can just click that one and we'll just select all my stuff. And I can also just remove this one and append loadout name. So I got my specific name for this one, like this, and add to shopping list. So 700,000 is actually a very good price for a trader. So we're gonna order that one, and then while that is building, we're going to see if we can find some hull parts. Now you can manually just scour around the map here and see if you find a hull parts factory. We have one there, perfect. But if you do not want to just go through and look through every single station here, right click and check trade offers and so on, you can click on this trade icon as I showed earlier and just select hull parts by searching and then click on that one. And then you can see where hull parts are available. And right now there's a lot of hull parts available up here, Profit Center Alpha. I want to check that out actually. So right by the west gate here, close to the highway, and that's actually pretty good to know. And they have a lot of hull parts for a fairly decent price, I believe. So we are most likely going to go for that one. There's another one here, Hull Parts Factory. There's a third one here. So plenty of hull parts factories in Profit Center Alpha, duly noted. And that is attached to the highway, which is going to make it really fast for our traders to go there. So let's go and buy some hull parts. So we're going to click on our trader here, and we're going to head off here, and we're going to take the first station here. I'm going to trade. I'm going to pick up as many hull parts as we can. And we're going to have it sent right back here. Trade with build storage. So, and we're going to do this a few times. You don't have to do any specific magic with the shift key and anything like that. But all you have to do is just keep adding orders. So we're going to buy a few more of these, and you can see that adds the trade orders. And we're going to move back here. Trade with. Bring that down. I'm going to shift click here, the last piece of order, and just tell it to go here. So, and once it's arrived there, it's going to pop up a little message here in the right corner and it's going to tell me it's just arrived at its position, and that's the signal for me to know that it's done those orders. So we now have enough hull parts coming our way to start production. We can check that out in plan build. You can see here that these are the hull parts we have purchased. And this is our trader going about trying to bring those to the station. Let's see here, we have some energy cells. We have purchased a few energy cells coming our way. So that is our trader going about its business. And I recommend getting at least 1 or 2 traders fairly early on, because you're going to want that, especially for some of the research projects for the Grand Exchange headquarters, the player headquarters. I generally keep 1 trader always available for the player HQ. One thing with the traders though, so now it's going to carry fairly expensive and very piratable goods, and eventually it's going to be harassed by pirates. So in a later episode, I'm going to show how you can change or make custom global orders and default global orders that will apply for all your ships. And there's a separation between military ships and civilian ships. But for now, I want to show you a little bit of trick to make the pirates less annoying in the early game. So we're going to go back to our ship here. We're going to check on individual instructions. So you have default response to attack and default response to abandoned ship, and so on and so on. And then down here you have pirate harassments. So if it gets attacked, we want it to escape and deploy laser turrets. That's a reasonable thing to do. If it is harassed by pirates, I actually want it to comply. Now this might be counterintuitive, because why would you want it to just do what the pirate says? But generally the pirate ships doesn't have the same cargo capacity as the trader, so it will never drop all of its cargo, and generally the cargo it drops will never be as valuable as the entire ship. And I really don't want to lose a trader this early in game. It's very expensive to replace. So that's pretty much it for this playthrough. A lot of talking, a lot of menus. We haven't done much of exciting flying in this episode, but hopefully this was a good introduction for how to set up your first station. And once this station up and running, we're going to have a look at more at station management. There's one more thing I want to say, as always one more thing, but there's more ways to earn passive income. Another way to earn passive income is mining, and that's probably something we're going to see in a later episode, where we're going to buy a few miners with the remaining credits we have to start adding additional income. But for mining to work very well, we need to find a good place to mine, a good place to sell, the things we mine, and then a good way of later utilizing those mines for our own factories. So that's going to be its own little segment, maybe not a full episode, but we're going to touch on miners and passive income from miners as well. But it's not stable. I find that having a solar energy plant or an energy cell plant running in the background as early as possible is one of the best ways to earn that kind of spending cash when you want to upgrade your ships, you want to buy missiles, satellites, you want to replace a fighter here and there. It's a really good way to have cash just rolling in, and there's always demand for energy cells. You're never gonna have like a complete stop of demand for energy cells, so it's always a good thing to have running in the background. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next episode that will come out probably in a week after this one. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a pleasant continuation of your day.